I mean, it took a literal month, but last night felt like maybe this really is a Big Brother season. Wow, who knew? Yo, 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 what up, everybody? Here to talk about the Big Brother 28 live feeds. And dare I say that for the first time all season, I might have actually found feeds enjoyable overall last night. What a crazy thing this season. But let's start before the vote yesterday. Yesterday, Drew heard Kamu talking about a vote flip onto him in a conversation with Yash, and then he went and tried to get Kamu to swear on the Bible that he's keeping Drew over both Lyric and Melody, and Kamu did not want to do that. I mean, I did find it very convenient for Drew to only blame the red corner when the vets are the reason that he was on the block in the first place. But I'm sure you know there was no diary room influence on Drew's thinking about the whole possible vote flip situation. I mean, I guess if he did hear Kamu talking, he would assume that it's just Kamu, Chuk, Haley. But, this is a bigger alliance. And Drew has felt at the bottom at times along with Barrett. But he never, of course, considers the vets. Drew told Dee that he needs the votes to stay yesterday because of what he overheard. This is what really flipped him against Kamu, Haley, and Chuk. At least this was Drew motivated against those three. But I also felt like his conversation with Dee was, of course, to get Dee's approval that that's the right thing to do, because that's much needed in this game. You must get approval from the vets to even just play the game, apparently. Drew told Devens that he thinks that Devens and Dee have the powers and it's fine. He just wanted to win this next HOH if he stays. I don't know how Devens really felt about Drew telling him accurately about the powers. Mallory and Taylor had a conversation about how Mallory was going to try and get Barrett's vote to keep Melody over Drew if it came down to those two. Taylor had to spell it out for Mallory again. Mallory needs a lot of spelling out in this game for a rocket scientist. That Barrett was never going to vote against Drew if that's what it came down to. I mean, he was if that's what the vets told him to do. Taylor didn't talk about that part either, but she did try and tell Mallory that Drew and Barrett are close, and they're close to Devens, Drew, and they're going to keep Drew over Melody. So yesterday, the vets met to go over scenarios. And I know Devin, shout out to Devin in the comments, wants me to give the vets credit for this whole vote. No, I'm still giving the diary room credit. The other day we talked about how Devens and Dee's conversation revolved around Devens trying not to talk about the diary room, but whispering it into her ear when they suddenly wanted to keep Drew this week. Yesterday, Devens got activated after a diary room session to agree with Dee that they needed to keep Drew no matter what, even if it meant, over Lyric, Melody, and then also got it up his ass from the diary room, in my opinion, that Lyric just needs to go, which is what Dee had been preaching from the night before, but it did seem like to me that Devens needed a little shove from the diary room to get activated with that too. You would think the problem would be running that by Angela, but again, it's what I've been complaining about this week. There's such an unnatural feel to this game because we know it's been lopsided in the vets' favor from production with the powers, the first HOH. But the biggest thing to me is how easily Angela just went against her last 2 weeks in the game. It's not adding up. For 2 weeks, Angela has been all about growing Drew's target. She finally gets a chance to vote Drew out this week, and she just goes along with whatever Dee and Devens says with no real thought process of her own. That's part of this whole scenario that has not made any game sense. It's like a totally different shift with Angela when it came to Drew that made no sense unless there was some DR influence. So I don't think Angela's ever going to beat those CBS plant accusations anytime soon. Devens talked to Taylor to try and get Taylor's vote to keep Melody over Lyric, and just to make sure that they had her to keep Drew this week, which they ended up having That was kind of about the gist of before the vote. You know, Mallory did talk to Barrett about maybe they could create an alliance with the vets. So it would be the vets, Barrett, Drew, Melody, and Mallory. I don't know if the vets would totally go for that. I mean, they would say they would, but like then they might think they're outnumbered with those four who are close. We'll see if that comes to fruition. Drew loved the fact that Taylor was going to vote to keep him. Maybe he won't be so scared of Taylor anymore. Although we'll see what happens with this week, which we're going to get to. One more thing before the vote that I want to talk about is point out how Dee basically had to spell it out for Barrett and Drew that they wanted to keep Melody regardless. And it just like it shows it's yet another example of how Barrett and Drew's gameplay is just do whatever the vets say.
Oh, you want to keep Melody regardless. This is great. I get rid of Lyric no matter what. Are you stupid? Oh, I'm down. I just thought you didn't. No.
Because instead of having their own agency to do whatever it takes to try and keep Melody this week over Lyric, because it's better for their games, they had to wait until Dee gave them the approval to do it. It's pathetic. It's so weak. So Lyric was voted out last night over Melody in a Blindside after Drew won the blockbuster. It took an entire fucking month, but we did finally have a non-unanimous vote and a Blindside. I love the fact that Taylor told Lala how to vote as well. I think that is a very important thing. It made it harder for the vets to try and blame this vote on other people. And I do think the aftermath last night was the first time this season that it actually felt a little bit like Big Brother. I mean, it took a literal month, but last night felt like maybe this really is a Big Brother season. Wow, who knew? The downside, though, is that it's still believe the vets over everything right now. Haley believes that Angela and Dee are two out of the 3 votes that kept Lyric. It was Kamu, Chuk, and Yash. Devens is the only vet that admitted he voted out Lyric because he was saying he thought the house came to that conclusion, though he wouldn't tell Kamu when asked who really kept coming to him about this vote and the house vote. I think that Kamu definitely saw this as the tool shed blowing up, which is thank God that has blown up. That has been such an awful alliance this season. Chuk was going around acting like he is so good at sniffing out liars because he was second place in that veto that Taylor just won where you got to sniff out lying. He was telling this to Dee while Dee was lying to him about her vote, and he was believing her. So that was another example of Chuk being stupid. You know, Dee thought Devens was not being a good game player yesterday for not playing dumb about the vote and just saying he voted out Lyric. But I think it would have been worse had he did the same thing Dee and Angela were doing and saying, oh my God, no, we voted to out Melody. Because then it would have just been all 3 vets lying about the vote. Because I thought both Dee and Angela were dumb for lying, especially since Melody, Mallory, Taylor, they all know who really voted who. And I thought Angela's lying was the worst. Because if Chuk and Kamu did not catch on to everything Angela was saying, they are idiots. Haley is an idiot and believed Angela because Angela would never do that to me, says Haley. Angela was talking about the vote last night, saying things like, you know how when you're a have-not and if you eat, there's a penalty? Maybe somebody ate, and if you're on the block, you like get a vote against you. She was basically trying to say Lyric was a have-not. Maybe she got a penalty vote against her. And she's saying this to Haley, who's just listening, which I thought would have been, or should have been, a huge red flag to Haley that Angela is lying. Like, hello, Angela's giving this extreme possibility about the vote. It makes her seem guilty about the vote if you're having to reach that far for an excuse of how the vote went down. Yash was telling Kamu and Chuk the best point possible about people lying about the vote, saying that the people that are lying are trying to placate Haley and have Haley still trust them because she was the HOH. And I think even the air between Chuck's ears was able to listen to Yash and clearly saw that Angela had to be lying. I really do think Angela did a terrible job lying. It worked on Haley though because she's an idiot. She was storming around the house yesterday. I said if the vote was changing, you come to me. If something was changing, you come to me. Well, she found out the hard way that after a veto ceremony, you have zero power as HOH. I did enjoy how Melody was staying on Haley after, this all went wrong for Haley on her HOH. She was talking about how she knows Haley is pissed that both her and Drew are here. She was talking shit by herself, saying that Haley's HOH was a literal joke, just like she is, and that Haley's game is shaky. Melody's always good for a rant, especially if it's about Haley. This past week, Melody has had some good rants about Haley. We had the wall comp last night on feeds, which gave us quite the unexpected HOH winner. I would say that Mallory was the biggest disappointment, ending up in the middle of the pack on the wall. The final three came down to Drew, Kamu, and Lala. Drew came very close to not only winning the blockbuster last night, but the HOH too, but fell short, leaving it Kamu versus Lala, pushing for a nearly 60-year-old Lala to beat the MMA fighter Kamu. She deserves all the credit for this win, the oldest to ever do it. She loves to work out, and it definitely paid off here. I was wrong 2 weeks ago when I thought Lala should go because it's not like she was going to win anything. Clearly, I was wrong about that. She's the only person on this other side to finally win a goddamn HOH. However, I do still stand by everything I have said about Lala on a game level. She has brought nothing to the table. She has been furniture that cleans, but still furniture. Because Lala's one and only game plan so far this season has been to try and be Rome's number one, and that was in spite of him being in a showman's. So that one idea was never going to work anyway. But the good thing for Lala is that she does have Taylor to guide her through this HOH. I did feel like Lala was kind of throwing things at a wall last night about what her nominations were going to be and just see what sticks. It was good to see them finally get some joy this season, though. It was definitely the first time I've had some joy for those of us that don't like this lopsided vet overpowered season. Because this was the first true power shift of the game after a whole ass month. Taylor and Lala came to the conclusion so far that maybe they should backdoor Haley, who was very whack last week on her HOH to Taylor. And I think Taylor has done such a great job playing nice to Haley after all of that. Honestly, Taylor's done a great job in her social game in general this week. She's has great social game intuition. Even just 2 weeks ago, also keeping Lala, sticking to that. Look how that has paid off now. Lala is close to Angela. She doesn't want to nominate Dee, so that left Devens as the only vet that she threw out there to possibly nominate. But Taylor is close to Devens and talked Lala out of that, which is a good thing for both of their sakes because we know that Devens has that fuck-ass power that could really fuck up Lala's HOH and maybe even put Taylor on the block this week. I do appreciate Lala bringing up a vet's name, though, as a possibility for once this season. Taylor and Lala talk their shit about Chuk, and it's about time because we know Chuk has talked so much shit about them. They are giving Chuk a pass because of the black card, although I am surprised that Chuk hasn't burned his own black card yet. So they have concluded for now that they are nominating Kamu, who nominated Lala on his HOH. And then Drew and Barrett is what they've settled on for now, with the plan to backdoor Haley. I've seen concerns about what if Kamu wins veto and then Haley wins the blockbuster? That means Drew or Barrett is going home. Yeah. Am I supposed to be upset about that? But that might be best case scenario. But, because for me, these 4 nominations are the best 4 nominations. Either one of those for people going makes me pleased. I don't like Kamu as a person. I do kind of like him as a game player. I feel like he's one of the only people that might be able to really give the vets a run for their money. But I think he or Haley are likely going home this week. If these are the nominations, though, and it happens to be Drew or Barrett go home, God, I would love for Barrett to go home. That would please my soul, actually. If Drew and Barrett are nominated, it again shows that they're on the bottom of a big alliance and how that is useless. Like, it shows that they just decided to stick to the bottom of that alliance, but it doesn't pay off because they're not even insulated with bigger targets in front of them like they think. It's very useless to be at the bottom of a big alliance. I would not be surprised, though, if the diary room tries to talk Lala out of nominating both Drew and Barrett because, they got to protect the vets. Two biggest loser puppets so the vets can stay protected, too. Two other things, though, about Lala's HOH that could be good or bad for the overall game. The big downside to this Lala HOH is that if she had any real game sense, she would be able to get so much tea this week. And Taylor told her this too early this morning, that she needs to use this HOH to try and get information. Because this is the perfect time for that. A huge alliance just broke up. She could get so much tea. So much people might turn on each other. But I don't know if she has the real game sense to be able to get all that tea. The upside is that, when a power structure like a Big 8 alliance falls, a new one can be built. And I don't think that Lala can do that building, which is good because I don't want another big power structure. But a big power structure could also be built without her, which would also suck. Right now, Taylor's gameplay is the one to watch this week, as she mouthed to the cameras last night that this is my HOH. I don't have a good clip of that, but I'm going to show it anyway. People are coming to Taylor to ask her how she should deal with Lala, how they would deal with Lala, how they should deal with Lala. Devens especially wants to know what to do to keep himself off the block. So people are coming to Taylor, even though it's Lala's HOH. That's good. I'm also glad, at least for now, this could change today. Yash is safe from being on the block. Both sides of the votes last night were ready to just throw him under the bus. I think Taylor should try and keep him safe. She tried a little bit with Lala. That is a name out there, though. They have considered Yash being a pawn this week. And I'm sure the DR will push Yash as an option over Drew. Lala seems pretty much like she wants to nominate Barrett because they don't have a close relationship. And I'm ready for Barrett to feel a little something. But, he's on the goddamn Zoloft or something. He doesn't feel anything, so who knows. I need to see how Lala has her talks with people today. But at least we've had a power shift. We had our first Blindside. Things are at least looking up for this week. The feeds might be better than the horror that the last 2 weeks of feeds have been.